Most people believe that serious kidney problems always come with clear warning signs: sharp discomfort, strong symptoms, something obvious. But in real life, the body is often much quieter than we expect. For many years, the kidneys can slowly lose efficiency while a person still feels completely normal in their daily life. That is why I often say this: the absence of discomfort does not always mean the absence of strain inside the body. As we grow older, especially after the age of 50, the body becomes more sensitive to long-term habits, not dramatic events, not sudden changes, but small, repeated routines that seem harmless day after day. A tablet here, a salty meal there, skipping water because you are not thirsty. Over time, these simple choices can create a gradual burden on the kidneys without drawing attention. I want to talk to you today in a calm and practical way, not to scare you, not to overwhelm you, but to help you understand what truly matters if you want to support your body for the long run. You see, the kidneys are remarkable organs. Inside each kidney, there are about 1 million tiny filters working quietly every second. Their role is to clean the blood, balance fluids, and support many systems in the body. And here is something important: they have a large reserve capacity. This means they can keep working even when a significant portion of their function has already declined. From the outside, everything can seem fine. Energy is acceptable. Daily routines continue. But inside, the workload on the remaining filters slowly increases. This creates a dangerous illusion of safety. Over the years, I have noticed a clear pattern in older adults. The issues rarely begin with one big mistake. Instead, they usually develop from common habits that feel normal, routine, and even helpful at the time. That is why awareness becomes so valuable. Today, I want to gently walk you through several everyday factors that may quietly put pressure on the kidneys over time, and more importantly, what you can realistically do about them in a balanced and safe way. Let us begin with something extremely common that many people keep in their homes. The first factor is frequent use of anti-inflammatory pain relievers. Many people take them for headaches, joint stiffness, back discomfort, or general aches that come with age. These medications can be very useful when used occasionally and responsibly. However, what many do not realize is how they interact with kidney blood flow. Your kidneys depend on a steady and well-regulated blood supply to function smoothly. There are natural chemical signals in the body that help keep the tiny blood vessels around the kidney filters relaxed and stable. This allows proper filtration and balance. Some pain relievers reduce those protective signals. When this happens, the small blood vessels may narrow slightly, and the flow of blood to the kidneys can decrease. For a healthy person using them occasionally, the body usually adapts well. But when use becomes frequent, especially in older age or alongside other medications, the situation can change. If someone is slightly dehydrated, taking these medications regularly, and also managing blood pressure with prescriptions, the kidneys may experience a combination of stressors at the same time. Not suddenly, but gradually. And repeated strain over months or years is what the body remembers most. This does not mean you should fear necessary medication. It simply means being mindful of long-term, frequent use and discussing regular habits with a healthcare professional when needed. Now, the second factor is one of the most common influences on kidney health in later life: elevated blood pressure. The kidneys are deeply connected to circulation. They filter blood under controlled pressure, and that pressure must remain balanced. When blood pressure stays consistently higher than ideal, the delicate filtering structures inside the kidneys are exposed to stronger force than they were designed for over long periods. Imagine a fine filter being exposed to stronger pressure every day for years. Slowly, the walls of those tiny filters can become thicker and less flexible. Over time, this may reduce their efficiency. There is also another important cycle to understand. When kidney function becomes less optimal, the body may struggle more with regulating blood pressure. And when blood pressure remains elevated, it adds further strain on the kidneys. This creates a loop that many people are unaware of because it develops slowly and silently. That is why regular monitoring of blood pressure becomes more valuable with age, even when you feel generally well. The third factor sounds simple. Almost too simple, yet it plays a meaningful role over the long term: not drinking enough fluids on a regular basis. This is not about extreme dehydration. It is about mild, consistent, low fluid intake over months and years. Many older adults simply do not feel thirst as strongly as they did when they were younger. As a result, they may drink less without realizing it. When fluid intake is consistently low, the total volume of blood circulating in the body may slightly decrease. In response, the body activates internal systems designed to conserve water and maintain stability. While this response is helpful in short situations, constant activation over long periods may lead to subtle tightening of blood vessels, including those that supply the kidneys. Over time, this can create a low-grade internal stress on kidney tissue. Additionally, very concentrated urine over long periods may increase the likelihood of mineral buildup in the urinary system, which can further challenge the kidney's normal function. Gentle, consistent hydration throughout the day is usually more supportive than drinking large amounts all at once. You do not need extreme water targets. Simply paying attention to regular fluid intake and how your body feels can make a meaningful difference over the years. Now, let us talk about something many people misunderstand: salt and processed foods. Salt itself is often blamed directly, but the situation is more complex. The kidneys are responsible for balancing sodium levels in the body. In a well-balanced system, when sodium intake increases temporarily, the kidneys adjust and remove the excess efficiently. However, modern diets often include highly processed foods that contain not only high sodium, but also refined carbohydrates and additives that influence metabolism. When metabolic health is not optimal, the body may hold onto more sodium and fluid instead of releasing it effectively. This fluid retention can increase blood volume, and increased blood volume often leads to higher internal pressure. As we discussed earlier, pressure is one of the key factors that gradually affects kidney filters over time. Another important point is that people respond differently to sodium. Some individuals are more sensitive than others, especially if they already have challenges with blood pressure or metabolic balance. That is why reducing ultra-processed foods often supports multiple systems at once, not just the kidneys, but also circulation and overall energy levels. Now we come to another very important factor that deserves calm attention, especially for adults over 50, and that is long-term blood sugar imbalance. Many people think blood sugar only becomes relevant after a formal diagnosis, but in reality, the body can experience subtle metabolic strain years before any official label appears. During this time, elevated blood sugar levels may quietly influence many organs, including the kidneys. When blood sugar stays higher than optimal over long periods, small particles of glucose can interact with proteins in the bloodstream. Over time, these interactions may affect the delicate filtering structures inside the kidneys. The filters can become thicker and less efficient, and the body may initially respond by increasing filtration to compensate. At first glance, this increased filtration may seem like the body is coping well. But in reality, it is often a stress response. The filters are working harder than usual, and prolonged overwork can gradually reduce their resilience. What makes this especially important for older adults is that insulin resistance often develops slowly. It does not happen overnight. It builds quietly through years of dietary patterns, low physical activity, and metabolic changes related to aging. During this phase, the kidneys may already be under subtle pressure, even if a person feels completely fine in daily life. That is why early awareness of blood sugar balance can be very supportive for long-term kidney health. Not in an extreme way, but through steady lifestyle habits, balanced meals, and regular checkups when appropriate. The sixth factor requires a bit of nuance because it is often misunderstood. This is about very high protein intake in certain individuals. Protein is essential, especially as we age. It supports muscle strength, mobility, and overall vitality. For many older adults, adequate protein intake is actually beneficial and should not be unnecessarily restricted. However, context matters greatly. When protein is consumed, the body processes its breakdown products and the kidneys help filter them. In a healthy and resilient system, this process is handled efficiently. But if someone already has reduced kidney function, elevated blood pressure, long-term blood sugar imbalance, or advanced age-related decline, extremely high protein intake may increase the workload on the remaining filters. This does not mean protein is harmful. It simply means that balance is wiser than excess, especially when the body is already managing multiple stress factors. Matching nutrition to your personal health status is often a more supportive approach than following extreme dietary trends. When we step back and look at all these factors together, a clear pattern appears. It is rarely one single habit that creates long-term strain. Instead, it is the accumulation of small pressures repeated over many years. Reduced blood flow from frequent medication use, elevated blood pressure, mild dehydration, metabolic imbalance, and excessive dietary stress can all contribute to increased internal workload on the kidneys. The body is incredibly adaptable, but it is not limitless. Over decades, repeated mechanical and metabolic stress can gradually reduce the efficiency of those tiny filtering units we talked about earlier. And because this process is slow and quiet, many people only become aware when the body has already been compensating for a long time. The reassuring part is that supportive habits do not need to be extreme to be effective. If you are over 50 or if you simply want to age in a more mindful way, there are several gentle and practical steps you can consider. First, keeping an eye on blood pressure is one of the most valuable habits. Even moderate improvements in blood pressure balance can reduce long-term strain on the kidneys and the cardiovascular system as a whole. Second, regular basic health checkups can be very helpful. Simple blood and urine tests can provide early signals about how the body is coping internally, long before any noticeable symptoms appear. Early awareness allows for early adjustments, which is always easier on the body. Third, be mindful with frequent use of over-the-counter pain relievers. Occasional use when necessary is generally reasonable, but long-term routine use without guidance may not be ideal, especially in later years. It is always wise to review regular medication habits with a qualified professional. Fourth, maintain steady hydration throughout the day. Not excessive, not forced, just consistent. Small sips over time are often more supportive than large amounts at once. Listening to your body and keeping fluids part of your daily routine can help reduce unnecessary internal stress. Fifth, consider reducing highly processed foods where possible. This does not require perfection. Even small shifts toward more natural home-prepared meals can support better metabolic balance, circulation, and fluid regulation. Sixth, pay attention to long-term blood sugar patterns, even if you feel generally well. Balanced meals, regular movement, and stable routines can make a meaningful difference over the years. And finally, approach nutrition with balance rather than extremes. Adequate protein, sufficient hydration, and moderate sodium intake tailored to your personal condition are usually more supportive than rigid dietary rules. It is also helpful to remember one simple truth. The kidneys are deeply connected to the entire vascular system. The same habits that support your heart, your circulation, and your mental clarity also support your kidney function. This means that improving metabolic balance, reducing chronic inflammation, staying active, and maintaining stable daily routines are not separate goals. They are interconnected aspects of healthy aging. If you gently support your circulation, your hydration, and your metabolic health, you are also supporting the quiet work your kidneys perform every single day. And perhaps the most important message of all is this: do not wait for discomfort before caring about your internal health. The body often whispers long before it ever signals loudly. Small, consistent choices made today can help preserve comfort, energy, and independence in the years ahead. Take care of your daily habits, stay observant of your body's signals, and focus on steady, realistic improvements rather than drastic changes. Over time, these calm and mindful decisions may support not only your kidneys, but your overall longevity, clarity, and quality of life. Another important point is that people respond differently to sodium. Some individuals are more sensitive than others, especially if they already have challenges with blood pressure or metabolic balance. That is why reducing ultra-processed foods often supports multiple systems at once, not just the kidneys, but also circulation and overall energy levels.